Now on 25 News Now Sunrise and streaming on crossroadstoday.com. The Victoria ISD board met Wednesday. We'll give you an update on the superintendent. And a different infectious disease takes COVID's place as the top cause for infectious disease-related deaths. We'll tell you the details. Police arrested a Florida teen for wielding a machete at an early voting site. The details just ahead.
And believe it or not, we got a couple showers in the area right now, but we got lots more rain on the way later today. We're going to take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at the next fall cold front coming away, and we also need to look at the tropics. All that in the weather coming up.
And Cuero looks to fight for the playoffs against Ingleside this Friday night. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now Sunrise. Good morning and thank you for joining us on this Halloween morning.
Yes, Halloween Thursday. Good morning, Crossroads. Are you ready for Halloween, Carolina?
I am close to being ready. I washed my costume that I wore this weekend. I'm going to reuse it, but I've got to reapply my little accessories.
Nice, you're well prepared. I'm not prepared, however, I forgot to get my costume. Well, if y'all were prepared for Halloween today, it's actually already looking a little bit spooky out there right now for Halloween morning. You're looking live in Victoria. We're dealing with a little bit of fog again this morning. All that thanks to the real light and the calm winds that we're experiencing out of the Gulf right now. It's 71 degrees in Victoria and a dew point matching that, bringing humidity to 100%. So that's guaranteeing the fog out there. And this computer right here is suggesting a 1 mile visibility, but looking at the camera, that looks a little bit more like maybe half a mile out there. Looking at this visibility map, you're going to see this one thinks an 1/8 mile, so I might be a little bit more closer to that. So just make sure to be careful on the roads this morning. We're experiencing a little bit of fog this morning before that clears between 8:30 to 9:30. And I'm also expecting that fog to be a little bit thicker in the grassy or more rural areas where there's a little bit more water transpiration. So like I said, just be careful with that. But also, it's also humid enough out there to see some rain. And most of the shower activity is in our eastern counties. We're talking about Matagorda and Wharton County, but we also have a couple showers that just 5-10 minutes ago started forming around Victoria County and also to our south in Refugio County as well. But all the rest of the shower activity is going to come off of this front that's going to come our way later tonight, later this afternoon. All that's coming off this trough that's coming off the Rockies, and we're still waiting for the fall cold front to come off of this one that's still out in the Pacific. But until that arrives, we're experiencing some more rain today, so I'd suggest sending your kiddos out the door with an umbrella. We're going to take a look at the timing of the rain coming up next. Carolina.
Thank you, Parker. The Victoria ISD board met Wednesday as part of a special meeting at the administration building. During the meeting, they entered a closed session to discuss the new superintendent's contract. The highlight of the evening was the announcement of Sheila Collazo as the finalist for the superintendent position.
Tonight's meeting was very brief. They were meeting with their attorney behind closed doors in closed session just to kind of negotiate and work out some of the details of the contract. Once the final offer is made and the new superintendent is hired, that contract will be available.
Collazo is currently the deputy superintendent at Somerset ISD, where she has served for 8 years, helping the district achieve an A rating in the Texas Accountability System. The board plans to make the official hire at their next meeting on November 12th. In 8 of the 10 days for early voting in Victoria this month, the number of voters casting their ballots went over 2,000. That streak continued Wednesday. 2,006 people voted in person Wednesday. 19,481 in-person votes have been cast so far. 35 mail-in votes were received Wednesday. 2,103 mail-in votes have been received so far. And over 21,000 votes have been cast in total. That's 37% of Victoria County registered voters. And just over 60% of registered voters in Victoria County cast their ballots in the 2020 presidential election. And here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. Renovations on the roof and interior of the Port Lavaca Art Guild's building are finally complete. Plus, crowds turn out for Halloween festivities at the Lighthouse Beach Ghouls. You can read these stories and more at portlavacawave.com. The World Health Organization says tuberculosis replaced COVID-19 as the top cause for infectious disease-related deaths in 2023. The WHO's report released Tuesday says more than 8 million people worldwide were diagnosed with tuberculosis last year. That's the highest on record since the organization began tracking cases in 1995. About 1.25 million people died of the disease in 2023. That places TB above COVID-19 to make it the world's #1 infectious disease killer. The U.S. economy grew in 2024's third quarter, but the pace of growth slowed. A report released Wednesday by the Department of Commerce said the report showed gross domestic product, which measures the goods and services produced, grew 2.8% from the start of July to the end of September. That figure is adjusted for inflation. While the number shows the U.S. economy continues to grow, the figure is less than the 3% reported in the second quarter and the 3.1% most economists predicted. Police arrested a Florida teen for wielding a machete at an early voting site on Tuesday. Police say a group of teens, including 18-year-old Caleb Williams, showed up to the polling site to protest and antagonize people on opposing political sides. They reportedly approached people waving signs, and the confrontation escalated, leading to Williams brandishing a machete toward two older women. The group of young men were carrying Trump flags. He is charged with aggravated assault on a person of 65 years of age or older and the improper exhibition of a firearm or dangerous weapon. Remember to follow us on our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Let's get a look at our clock up here. It is 6:36 on our Thursday morning. Here's a look at what's coming up on 25 News Now Sunrise. Just how warm is it going to be today on our Halloween?
I'm ABC's Perry Russom in Washington. 5 days to go until Election Day. Trump hints at the possibility of putting RFK in his cabinet. Harris talks about her priorities if she wins. That story coming up.
And also coming up next after the break in the full forecast, you heard me say we've got rain chances today, and I've got my rain tie on. So we're going to take a look at the timing for that rain that should be coming our way today. Coming later on Sunrise, we're going to continue looking at the tropics because that now warrants your attention. And we're also going to look at that next fall cold front. Well, good morning, Crossroads. You're looking live in Cuero, where it's still plenty warm and humid out there right now. It's 66 or 76 degrees out there right now. Be nice if we were in the 60s for late October. Pretty normal though. But 76 degrees right now in Cuero, near dew point 2 degrees off, bringing humidity to 94%. So it's still plenty humid out there. Not really enough to see any kind of thick fog out there in Cuero. If anything, you might see maybe light streaks floating through the air. But otherwise, any of the thick fog that's out there, that's going to clear between 8:30 to 9:30 as the sun comes up behind the partly cloudy skies. And it's also going to come up behind some spotty showers because looking at your radar, we got a couple showers out there right now. But all that rain is actually going to be coming from the front that's coming up through central Texas right now before it stalls as we go into later tonight. In fact, looking at your future clouds and radar for today, looking at those rain chances and the timing, I'm thinking as we go into the late morning and all the way into the early afternoon, I think that's going to be our first best shot for rain today, sometime after 11 a.m. all the way about 2 p.m. But then our next best chance is going to be the late afternoon as that front gets a little bit closer out of the northwest and starts stalling, and that's going to provide a little bit of lift for those showers in the later afternoon. Now here's 7 p.m. By around sunset is at 6:30, so around the time that you're going to be going out for trick-or-treating, there might be a couple showers still left over. It's going to be hit or miss at around 30 to 40% to see those showers at around 8 p.m. We'll look at the Halloween forecast after this because behind the partly cloudy skies and the spotty rain today going to be in the mid and upper 80s again, just like it has been all week. But like I was saying, looking at your Halloween forecast today, I think you're going to be dancing in the streets just like this mummy is. But I think it's going to be nice and lovely out there sometime by the later evening by the time you're getting out there and trick-or-treating. But around the early evening, there might still be a shower in the area. So just kind of watch the radar for that. But for the rest of this week and into next week, you still got more warm weather to come before that front arrives. And we're going to take a look at that front and the tropics coming up next.
So we're only 2 games away here from week 10 here of high school football. One game we're going to keep an eye on here is the Cuero Gobblers. They're batting the Ingleside Mustangs. And Cuero, they head in this game 5-3 overall, 1-1 in district play. They're going to face Ingleside, again, who is 1-2 in district play and 5-4 overall. So Cuero trying to be one of those top teams to kind of get into the playoffs here. And they're doing it with the backup quarterback right now in Tony Perez after they lost starting QB Jackson Marie earlier to a gruesome injury there in week 5. With the Gobblers, they still have a huge star there in Walker Dietz, who's been an X factor this season for the Gobblers. Now for Ingleside, they are 5-4 this season. They're on a 2-game losing streak with losses to some of the top teams in the division, between the Sinton Pirates and the Rockport Fulton Pirates. So the Mustangs, they're led by Javier Solis III, and they got 2 top running backs as well there for Ingleside. But Cuero, they're looking again to try to fight for the playoff spot here in these last 2 weeks. This is Max Williams, 25 News Now Sports.
5 days to go until Election Day. Former President Trump teasing a possible cabinet position for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Vice President Kamala Harris goes one-on-one with ABC News outlining her priorities if she wins.
Former President Trump doubling down on calling himself a protector of women, even after he says his campaign advisors told him not to.
They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say, pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
Trump also addressing reports that he promised control of public health agencies to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is an anti-vaccine activist.
He's going to be with us, and he's going to make sure our food is safe, our people are safe, our women are safe.
Vice President Kamala Harris responding, saying putting an anti-abortion conspiracy theorist in charge of our public health agencies says everything you need to know about how Donald Trump would govern. Trump with a photo op, dressing as a sanitation worker.
For Joe Biden to make that statement, it's really a disgrace.
Trump slamming President Biden for appearing to call his supporters garbage. Biden says he misspoke and was referring to the comic at Trump's rally who called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Harris going one-on-one with ABC's Mary Bruce.
My highest priority is to bring down prices and bring down costs. That is one of the biggest issues that is affecting the American people. I've been traveling the country. They know the price of groceries is still too high. I know it's still too high. Bringing down the cost of housing, bringing down taxes for middle-class families so they can not just get by but get ahead. Those are my highest priorities.
And Harris was asked about the possibility of becoming the first female president in U.S. history. She says she does not expect anybody to vote for her because of her race or her gender. She says she wants to earn their vote with a plan to make their life better. Perry Russom, ABC News, Washington.
Except for snow days with no school, Halloween might be when children care the most about the weather. Some children are in for weather so unusual. Today, it's almost spooky. Forecasters say this could end up being one of the warmest Halloweens ever for parts of the Great Lakes, Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic. They say several cities could set new record highs, including Washington, D.C. First Lady Joe Biden wore a giant panda costume yesterday when hosting trick-or-treaters at the White House with temperatures in the 70s. If you're looking for something frightful and fun to do this evening, consider braving the journey through Dunlap's Dungeon, a haunted house production by Victoria West High School students. It starts at 7 p.m. this evening and goes on until 9:30 p.m. at the Z venue that's located at 2804 North Lawrence Street. Take a look at the final moments of the Halloween comet. NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory spacecraft captured these images as the comet disintegrated close to the sun early Monday morning. Astronomers first discovered the glowing celestial body on September 27th. NASA says the comet broke apart over the past few days into chunks until it finally evaporated. It earned the nickname Halloween Comet after speculation it could be visible in the night sky at the end of the month. And here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Quora Record. Quora High School teachers got hands-on training in a 3D learning program. Plus, the Quora Municipal Library received a $10,000 grant from the Hancher Foundation. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com. The time is now, let's get a look at our clock up here. It is 6:45 on our Thursday morning. Still to come, we turn to a 25 News Now Extra and take a look into the future of Lavaca Bay. Okay, it's time to celebrate some birthdays. Happy birthday to Trayton. Happy 11th birthday, Trayton. We hope you have a blessed one. We love you from Mommy, Daddy, and sisters.
Oh, happy birthday, Trayton. And also happy birthday to Darren. Happy birthday today, Darren. Enjoy your big day.
And the Lord of the Rings director, Peter Jackson, is 63 today. Happy birthday, Mr. Jackson.
Happy birthday, Mr. Peter Jackson. And to see your birthday wish live on 25 News Now Sunrise, come to crossroadstoday.com, click the drop-down menu, then click the Home tab, and then you'll see Submit Your Birthday Photo.
All right, the time is now 6:46 on our Thursday morning. Happy birthday if you're celebrating one today.
That's right, happy birthday. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, good morning, Crossroads. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what are those temperatures going to look like and when is that front going to come through next week? Well, we're going to look at those now. Look at the temperatures for this weekend. Starting out with Sunday, you're going to see we're going to still continue in the mid and upper 80s all the way into the early part of next week on Monday. Here's Monday's highs. mid and upper 80s. But as that front comes through, now it's looking like the computers are suggesting it's going to come through on Tuesday morning. Here's 9 a.m. But that front is going to be dropping our temperatures all the way down into the 70s. Some might even be in the upper 60s for highs on Tuesday. But then as we go into later next week, we're talking about the latter half of next week, we're going to start picking up another strong southeasterly Gulf wind, and that's going to start warming us up real quickly back into the low 80s and upper 70s for Wednesday, and then right back into the low and mid 80s, maybe even some of the upper 80s for the latter second half of next week. And now all that front is going to be coming from this second. There was a first low trough that just came out the Rockies. You just saw right there. That just went towards the Great Plains later tomorrow. But the second one is going to be responsible for bringing us that next fall cold front coming our way next week. Why? Because it's going to be digging real far south down into the Rocky Mountains, bringing all that cold air off the tops of those mountains. But another thing I want to point out to y'all before I continue going on to the next slide is this. There's going to be a high pressure that's going to develop in the upper atmosphere ahead of those two troughs, and it's going to be bobbing back and forth around Florida and over the eastern coast. And depending on where that high pressure sets up as we go into mid next week is going to determine where the next tropical system moves as we go into next week. And right now, looking at where we stand on tropical activity, we still have a 50% chance suggested by the National Hurricane Center that Patty will form out of this in the next 7 days. Patty's the next name on the list. But I have chances at 80% because I'm feeling very likely something will happen. And like I said, depending on if high pressure moves over Florida, that's going to push it northwestern into the Gulf, possibly towards our area. We're going to have more details on that next week and more coming up later on Sunrise.
Now we look to the future of Lavaca Bay, which hangs in the balance as proposed improvements to the Matagorda Ship Channel bring new questions and concerns to light. 25 News Now Chief Meteorologist Maclovio Perez recently spoke with several of the stakeholders involved, and here's what we learned.
When Alcoa came to town in 1948, it catapulted the crossroads into the future. Alcoa, one of the world's largest producers of alumina. The local plant would refine bauxite ore, end up with a white powder called alumina. The red mud left behind was bauxite residue. After years of complaints and investigations, 5 different regulatory agencies filed a lawsuit against the company. Alcoa was accused of releasing over 1 million pounds of mercury into Lavaca Bay, in addition to other contaminants that were found on the property. Because the mercury was showing up in the fish, in 1988, the Texas Department of Health closed off Lavaca Bay to fishing. You cannot keep any fish or crabs caught in this area of the bay. Local residents are familiar with the "Don't Eat the Fish" signs around the area.
Many of the microorganisms do have mercury in them, and it's toxic to the body. It creates a number of effects, including cancer.
There was continuous monitoring of the bay and the fish, but things weren't getting any better. So in 1994, Lavaca Bay was added to the list of Superfund sites by the EPA, and that was the ultimate insult.
For more on this 25 News Now Extra, come to our website, crossroadstoday.com. Still to come on Sunrise, news to know before you go. A judge has ordered Elon Musk to attend an emergency court hearing. A judge has ordered Elon Musk to attend an emergency court hearing in Philadelphia today. The hearing will address a bid by the city's district attorney to stop Musk and his America PAC from awarding $1 million prizes to registered voters in Pennsylvania. Philadelphia DA Larry Krasner sued Musk and the PAC on Monday, accusing them of operating an illegal lottery and of trying to influence voters in the presidential election. Krasner's lawyers asked that the judge order enhanced security for the hearing after anti-Semitic attacks on Krasner. A hearing date to consider resentencing for Eric and Lyle Menendez has been set for December 11th. The court official and a spokesperson for the brothers' lawyers said. Prior to the resentencing hearing, the judge will hold a November 25th status hearing on the request. Last week, the LA District Attorney requested resentencing for the brothers. California law says they would be eligible for youthful parole and could be freed after a parole board hearing. The Spanish government has decreed 3 days of official mourning for victims of severe flash floods. At least 95 people were killed after the high waters swamped the southern and eastern parts of the country. Weather officials say it was the worst rainfall in 28 years, and emergency services are working to find several people who are still missing. Jaywalking is no longer illegal in New York City. Last month, the New York City Council passed a bill to allow pedestrians to cross the street even when they're not at a crosswalk. That law went into effect last weekend. Jaywalking has been against the law in New York City since 1958. Violators face fines of up to $300. The council member who introduced the bill said police officers shouldn't be wasting their time ticketing jaywalkers. Polls are open for early voting this week in Victoria County from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Voting is at the Dr. Petty Dodson Public Health Center. That's at 2005 North Navarro Street, Classroom A. Early voting goes on through this Friday, November 1st. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton announced Tuesday that his office is suing the U.S. Department of the Interior, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and the Biden administration officials for declaring 6 freshwater mussel species endangered and another threatened earlier this year. You can read this story by the Texas Tribune on our website, crossroadstoday.com. And we want to invite you to experience our digital streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. You can find it on your connected TV through Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, Android TV. Just search for Crossroads Today Plus. And now we get a look at a very dark sky out there in Port Lavaca because daylight savings hasn't kicked in quite yet.
Yeah, look how spooky it looks out there this morning, Carolina. That sun hasn't come up just yet, but I promise as we get into Sunday, when the clocks shift back an hour, we're going to be looking at sunrise, looking a little bit closer to 6:30 instead of 7:30 in the morning. But right now on the coast, it's plenty warm out there, 77 degrees. It does not feel like late October going into November tomorrow now, does it? A little bit humid out there as well. Humidity's at 98%. And we might see a little bit of light fog out there this morning, so just be careful on the roads before that fog clears between 8:30 to 9:30. But also looking at your radar, it's humid enough to see a little bit of rain. And looking at that radar, we have a couple showers that just started developing. We're talking last 5-10 minutes ago, right along Highway 59, but all the rest of the activity is out to the east. And we're also expecting more to come later today because of this front that's going to be coming our way, installing to our northwest, bringing more showers probably throughout the rest of the afternoon today in Port Lavaca. 86 today for the high, a little bit warmer in Victoria. I'm thinking 88 today, but at the same time for the rain cutting off in probably the early evening, and a little bit warmer in 89 in Cuero today. But we got lots more warm weather to come all the way into next week before that next fall cold front arrives.
All right, and we're anticipating that.
Oh yeah.
And we wanted to share this beautiful pumpkin painted by our very own Sunrise producer, Ronnie Reyna. As you can see, you may recognize this gentleman from our promos when we're hiring. So we want to do a happy Halloween, and we'll see y'all later tonight.